Now for Scoop, our weekly conversation on international media and the political and economic headwinds confronting the industry. We look at who shapes the narrative, explore journalistic ethics, and ask the reporters the difficult questions. With trust in the press at a nadir, it's a critical eye on a critical profession. Well, the annual White House Correspondents Dinner is usually a glitzy, star-studded event to hear jokes. The president is roasted, as are the journalists who cover the commander-in-chief. Take a look.
Ladies and gentlemen, here I am.
I have actually shown up here for 8 straight years. Looking back, that was probably a mistake.
It's not often that we have so many people who've written about us and broadcast about us all together in one room like this, and I thought you might like to say a few nice words to them.
I know sometimes you like to give me a hard time, and I certainly like to return the favor. But I never forget that our country depends on you. You help protect our freedom, our democracy, and our way of life.
Then in stark contrast, you have Donald Trump, who's skipped the event already a number of times. Many criticize him for having an antagonistic relationship with journalists. At press conference, watchdogs say he regularly verbally assaults men and women doing their jobs. Look at this video compiled by Brute.
Look, between you people, don't talk to me that way. You're just a lightweight. Don't talk to me that way. I'm the president of the United States. Don't ever talk to the president that way. You just have to sit down, please. Sit down. I didn't call you. Okay, question? Yeah, go ahead. She's shocked that I picked her.
No.
She's like in a state of shock.
I'm not thinking, Mr.
That's
President.
okay. I know you're not thinking. You never do.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
Do you want him to rein in Robert Mueller?
What a stupid question that is. What a stupid question. But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions.
Well, in this context, it made the timing for the event awkward. To celebrate America's free press, well, some say it's under threat. One of the main criticisms of the White House Correspondents' Dinner comes from other journalists themselves. They fear it at least appears to be cozying up to the president who is in office. This year's host was MSNBC's Eugene Daniels. He defended the press and the event.
I want to be clear about something. We don't invite presidents of the United States to this because it's for them. We don't invite them because we want to cozy up to them or curry favor. We don't only extend invites to the presidents who say they love journalists or who say they are defenders of the First Amendment and a free press. We invite them to remind them that they should be.
Well, usually the event is hosted by a comedian. In fact, in February, Eugene Daniels announced that Amber Ruffin would be the featured comedian this year, saying her unique talents were an ideal fit. But in March, she was cut. Daniels said he was worried about politics of division. But Ruffin reacted on the Daily Beast podcast, saying she didn't want to go soft on the Trump administration.
You're kind of a bunch of murderers. I mean, so like they were like, you need to be, equal and make sure that that you give it to both sides and blah, blah, blah. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be freaking doing that, dude.
Well, let's bring in our guest, Eric Deggans. Eric is a TV critic and media analyst for America's National Public Radio. Hello to you, Eric. I know you've attended previous White House Correspondents' Dinners. What did you do this year? Did you watch this one on TV?
I watched some of the media highlights. Unfortunately, it just turned out I was traveling when it actually happened, so I wasn't able to attend or sit down and watch a lot of it.
That seems like a common remark that I've heard talking to people. Why do you think this year's didn't carry as much buzz as other years?
Well, I would say in my own personal experience, it was unusual for me to attend. But I enjoyed having a chance to, because I cover the media, I enjoyed having a chance to talk to journalists in a different setting. So I would have gone if it would have been possible for me to go. I do think that there were some journalists who, were concerned about the controversy that had been surrounding it and probably decided that it might be a good time to skip it. there's always a little bit of controversy about the event because I do think that some critics of the dinner have felt that the sight of journalists, palling around with the people that they cover, might not be a great look. You're supposed to be critiquing them often and pushing them to be open with the public. And is it a good look to be sitting down at a dinner and kind of in an environment where it may look like you're not pushing them? So it's always been controversial with some journalists. I think some journalists have always decided that it was an event that they wouldn't attend, and so I'm not surprised that some people may have decided to skip it. But if I had been able to, if my schedule had allowed it, I would have gone.
Right, and it can certainly be entertaining depending on who is hosting or who's president. Eric, you touched on some of the criticisms of the event. What is its strengths? Ideally, what does this event do?
Well, I would, I hate to speak for the organizers of the event because I'm not involved in the White House Correspondents Association or arranging the dinner. But I think the idea behind it is to create a night where people can sort of come together and let down their guard a little bit and get to know each other in a social setting, and that might make it easier for people to deal with each other when they are in their professional settings where they more often might be opposed to each other, or at least have different goals. I'm a TV critic primarily, and I've taken part in different kinds of events where you sit down with people from the TV industry and you share a meal and you talk about the issues affecting the industry, and it helps you get a sense of how some of the notable people in the industry think about things, and that can help you figure out, how if they make a decision a month later, you can say, well, oh, I talked to them at the dinner and they were thinking about this or they were thinking about that, and it might give you an extra bit of context to help understand some of the decisions they make in their professional positions. So I would assume that the people who still support the dinner, that's their perspective. That by sitting down with people, letting down your guard a little bit, getting to know the people you're covering as people, might help you both sort of figure out how to serve the public in the way that your role requires.
Yeah, also wondering about this decision. It's a very interesting format. I think for people that aren't Americans, it has come as a striking event. Comedian and journalist Dean Obedella had an interesting take. I want you to hear this. This is what he said during MSNBC's coverage of the dinner.
So you can sit there, and the president of the country will sit there and be laughed at and mocked, and no one gets arrested, no one disappears. This is part of our system. It's part of the celebration of who we are. And by canceling the comedian, they've taken that away.
How important do you think it was, or what is the significance that Amber Ruffin was canceled as a comedian? Dino Bedell making it sound like we lost something in terms of the integrity of the event.
Well, I don't know if something was lost in terms of the integrity of the event, but I think it's my own opinion that I think the White House Correspondents Association should have decided whether or not they were going to move forward with the comedy and the roasting element of the dinner before they announced Amber Ruffin's hiring, because I think the significance is in hiring somebody and then not hiring them. Going through this situation sort of in the public view where you sort of say, well, we're going to do the typical dinner that we used to do where we kind of roast the president and roast the administration and roast government officials, and then saying, oh, well, maybe we're not going to do that now. It probably would have been better if they had sort of figured out how they were going to approach this before they even announced that she was going to be hired. I think, again, the idea is that it's a good-natured ribbing where you had a comedian who made fun of politics and journalists, And then you had the president come up and make fun of all the journalists. And there was a sense that, people, everybody was kind of making fun of everybody in a sense. It wasn't just creating a situation where the president comes and a comedian makes fun of them and everybody claps and that's the end. I attended when Trevor Noah was the host, and I attended when Roy Wood Jr. was the host. And in both situations, those comedians, talked about journalists too, and made fun of journalists too, and talked about the president and talked about politics. So there was a sense that you're trying to again, bring people's defenses down by joking about everybody, and having a night where we all kind of acknowledge the absurdities of some of the things that we do. And maybe you reach a point, if everybody can learn to laugh at themselves, you get to a point where there's some understanding. And I think perhaps we're just in a moment where things have become so politically turbulent that it's really hard to do that. And I think maybe the White House Correspondents Association sort of struggled to figure out how to present an event that might have the same result, because having a comic come up and tell politically charged jokes might not have achieved that this time around. I just think it would have been better for the dinner and for them if they would have made that decision before they announced that Amber Ruffin had been hired.
Right. For any of our viewers, and I might be familiar with roasting, the New York Friars Club, I think what they say is, we only roast the ones we love. In this case, we don't want to imply that the press loves the president, but there's that mutual respect you were talking about. Larry Wilmore had an interesting proposal. He said on the Daily Beast that it would have been interesting if the White House Press Association had the courage to invite a hardcore MAGA comedian as a way to try and bridge that political divide.
Well, and again, I think the spirit of the event is that everybody makes fun of everybody. If you have a comedian where you have a sense that all the comedian's going to do is go after, one type of person, maybe that might not be the kind of event that the White House Correspondents Association would feel comfortable being a part of. I just think it's sad that we sort of reached a point in politics where we can't joke with each other without wondering about serious, sort of misunderstandings and serious turbulence. If anything, that might be the lesson to sort of take from where we are now, is that it would be better for us to reach a point where we can joke with each other and it doesn't feel like political combat.
Yeah. Eric, thank you so much for your time. Eric Deggans, the NPR TV critic and media analyst, joining us there. And that brings us to our quote of the week, and it comes from a piece on the Substack by former CNN journalist Jim Acosta. He said that it's time to pull the plug on the White House Correspondents' Dinner. He wrote, quote, "In Donald Trump's America, the press no longer has a seat at the table. Journalists are on the menu. Is this really the right time to sit down and break bread with the very people who seek to destroy the free press in America? Forget the stakes at the Hilton. The stakes for our profession are just too damn high." That's it for this edition of Scoop. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned to France 24.